Welcome, Kim Searle, Emotional Mastery. How are you on this fine day? I thought I would record this one again. I've done it before, but I think it bears repeating. Something to remind us of. You are not you. What do I mean? Well, I want to explain how your life, or parts of your life, that have been a disappointment to you, well, it's not your fault. But it becomes your responsibility once you understand why it's not your fault. I know that's very interesting, isn't it? So if your relationship's not working out, or your job's not working out, or your health's not where it needs to be, or you're not earning the money you want to do, it's not your fault. But you do have a part to play in it, so it therefore becomes your responsibility to do something about it. So what do I mean, it's not your fault? Well, you have, from the moment you were born and arguably before, you started to learn about your world. Your brain is a learning machine. It's constantly absorbing information, and its primary objective from the very get-go is to keep you safe, to make sure that you survive. It's how humans have been able to survive all these years against sometimes some incredible odds. And the way you survive is to learn from your parents, your siblings, family, your social networks, your schools, your religions, your society. You learn who you are and what is expected of you. And I want you to understand that, because from that very young age, you've been learning and programming yourself and conditioned by those around you. Yes, and even hypnotized. I know that's something that some people abhor, but you have been hypnotized into being who you are. And whilst that learning was taking place, you were under the age of 7. You knew no different. You trusted those around you to care for you, to look after you in the best way possible. And that when you got older, that you were learning in a different way, because now your thinking brain, that cognitive part of your brain in the front of your mind, has started to take over, but it needs help. But it's using the foundations of those early learnings to do that. So I just want to talk about the 3 stages of learning. They're not really 3 stages, they're just to help categorize them for here, because it's important that the you that's listening to this is probably older, wiser, and definitely knowing more about what is or isn't working for you, that you can make better distinctions, if you like. You can make better decisions, but you sort of need to understand what's been going wrong in the meantime. So what if you were able to identify one of some of those early learnings that are really not suiting you? They were right when you were under 7. They were great as a teenager or as a 20 something. But now you're older, 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. Are they still working for you? So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about those very early years between 0 and 7, when you very often hear children say that they're just a sponge, they're just absorbing information left, right and center. But they don't always know what it is they're absorbing. So I'm going to use the analogy of a spider phobia. So forgive me to those of you who may have a problem with spiders. Just know that there are no real spiders here and that you are completely safe. It is just an example. So when a child is born, it does not know that a spider is a spider. It doesn't know whether it can hurt you or not. It certainly doesn't understand, what it is until it's exposed to it. So what if that child under 7 is completely self-absorbed, or absorbed in playing a game or doing something, and somebody in its world jumps, screams suddenly, makes a fuss, which is all valid, by the way, that child then looks around to see what is going on, and it spies the spider. Hello, the beginning of a problem. The spider is the thing that the unconscious has focused on as being the problem. It's not the problem, is it? It's the person who jumped and screamed at the time. But they're only a problem in as much as they've got a problem too. That's another story. So that becomes a problem. So that every time they see the spider, the brain has now learned, that's a problem. You need to run, mate. You need to fight this. You need to freeze. Whatever the decision is, and that will come over time, so that the more the child is exposed to spiders, the more the child is exposed to that said person in their world jumping, screaming, doing whatever they're doing, the more the child's learning this is a big problem. What happens then as they get to over 7, what's happening is their thinking brain is starting to develop, and it can now disseminate information. It can instead of being black and white, good or bad, safe or not safe, love or not safe, love, it's now looking at it and thinking, hold on a moment, what is that about? But remember, the foundations have been set. So now the young person knows it's irrational to be jumping and leaping and screaming, but they can't help themselves. And as they get older and the more exposure they get, the bigger that can come. So it's only much later that suddenly you realize you've got a phobia. Oh my God, I've only got to see a picture of a spider. It's not now the real thing. It's pictures of spiders that will cause me a problem. And suddenly you can start to see it's not your fault, but you learnt it. It's now your responsibility to do something with it. And it's really key to understand that after 24-ish, obviously it's not a hard and fast, one day you're this and one day you're that, because we're individual, but somewhere after 24, unless you are driven to make a decision, everything in your world will become very samey. You will make decisions based on these early learnings, because I've used a spider as an example, as an extreme example, but you could have had good stuff that, that was good for you, maybe. You were rewarded in some way, money, food, treats, being taken out, whatever it is. You will magnify that as you get older. You will do more of that as you get older. And it's only the big events in life that will get us to question who we are and what we're doing. Does that make sense? Can you see where I'm coming from? Can you feel that? So I want you to understand that once you can appreciate these early learnings are just what they are, because let me tell you, and I will do a separate video on this, your parents were living the lives that they too were programmed, conditioned, and potentially, hypnotized into. So they were just doing what they've been programmed and trained to do. So there is no blame here. I'm not into blame, except the Victorians, and I need to get myself over that one, and that's another video. But we need to understand that it's our responsibility, and I think even more so now in this time of humanity, it's our responsibility to clear that old conditioning, because it's not working for us anymore. And you're not living your life. You're living the idea of somebody else's. A life that was your parents, your teachers, your society, your religion, whatever. Would you like to do something about that? Are you ready to do something about that? Do you want to go into 2021 in a different space? Then please do check out my website, kimsearle.co.uk, and look for the Be More You page. I will put the link down below this video, but I'm running that at the end of this month, and I will be running it all through 2021, because I really want to help people start to understand that just by making some tweaks and changes, you can start to really make a difference. If you haven't, I have actually posted a video earlier on about We Are All Energy. I would urge you to check that out too, because I think that might just help you understand some of what I'm doing. My name is Kim Searle, Emotional Mastery. Thank you for listening. And remember, it's not your fault. It is your responsibility now. Thank you. Take care.